To Reporter Room. My name is Jessica Davies, and I'm an investigative journalist. And today we're going to be discussing the Kylie Rodni case and the Summer Wells case. I have some new information for you and some interesting red flags. So let's get started. If you would like to join the top chat, you need to be subscribed for 1 minute. And I believe you can access it on either a computer, a laptop, and on some cellular devices. So your comment will appear up here after you've been subscribed for 1 minute. I want to thank my producers. Those were my executive producers. My producers. And our channel members. I am so grateful that you guys are here. If you would please be so kind as to give this video a thumbs up on your way in. Let's get started.
We began our search for Kylie at Prosser Creek Reservoir on August 21st at 10:40 a.m. We placed 2 sonar boats in the water. By 11:15 a.m., Nick detected an object underwater using cutting-edge Garmin sonar technology. I was able to then confirm that it was in fact a vehicle in roughly 14 feet of water.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Davies.
Help a lot if I turn my microphone on. Sorry guys, thanks for letting me know. Okay, can you hear me now? So I have some things I want to share with you in this case. I went back and I listened through some of Sammy's early interviews that she gave in the Kylie Rodni case, right? And what I found is concerning, and it raises some big red flags. So the early interview, and this was a couple of interviews that were done also with a friend of Sammy's named Megan on the Ikedmel channel. And she keeps cutting out, but I went through the whole video and went through and picked out the stuff that I thought was really interesting. And she apparently is a parent from Truckee and who knows Sammy. And so she gave some really interesting insight too. So this was all done before Sammy went on All American Dream Chaser to give her infamous interview in the Kylie Rodni case. So if you guys don't know by now, I just want to welcome all of my Reporter Room investigators. You guys are a critical part of this channel. I am so grateful that you are here, and let's get started. Everything I'm sharing with you today is my opinion, and opinions are not facts. Please don't send any negativity to anyone, anytime, anywhere. Let's be good and decent to each other. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a live stream or a new upload, and give this video a thumbs up so I know that you are here. We are trying to reach 15,000 subscribers today, and I need your help if you can help. So thank you to all of our awesome subscribers, our awesome reporter room investigators. You guys are key to this channel. Welcome to Reporter Room. My name is Jessica Della Davies, and I have pieced together about Sammy Smith that you need to be aware of. I've been reading through all of your comments and learning more about everything that you guys are thinking, and I think that doing the pieces of the puzzle that we've been working on together has really helped us towards solving the Kylie Rodni case, because if we can understand the why, then we can understand the who. So please stay with me, because I do have some important things to share with you. And everything I'm sharing with you today is my opinion, and opinions are not facts. So please don't send any negativity to anyone. Let's be kind and good to each other. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a live stream or a new video, and give this video a thumbs up so I know you were here. Let's get started. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing with you some new information on Kylie's death certificate. And we're going to discuss the controversy regarding the box that was ticked unknown in regards to Kylie being pregnant. It is, if you don't know, it is an authentic death certificate in the Kylie Rodni case. And I'm going to explain to you how we came to this identification and the box that was ticked unknown. I have some interesting information for you also. So let's continue on together, shall we? And I'm going to be turning this microphone on and off. So you should be able to hear me. But if I forget to turn it on, just let me know. Just let me know. And I'm really grateful that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me today. So please stay with me. So if you're not aware, the Nevada County Sheriff's Office released a statement that they were not going to be sharing any information about Kylie's cause of death or final toxicology until November, which really doesn't make a lot of sense considering that toxicology takes around 6 weeks. So we should have had it back by now. We all so sketchy, right? It's so sketch that they've held this toxicology until November. We know now that Kylie has been cremated. So we know they pulled the tissues. They would have probably pulled them within the first week after finding her. So they could have had the toxicology results back by now. And I have a theory as to why I think this is. I think that they are hoping that we just forget about this case and that they can just slide out with whatever they want to say. That's what I'm hearing a lot of you guys saying. I'm not so sure that that's the case. That's not my theory. That's an interesting theory, and it's very possible. So I'm not discounting it. But I think it's more likely that law enforcement really messed up, right? They didn't seal up the car when they removed it from the water. Well, first, they didn't find Kylie. So either she wasn't in Lake Prosser when they searched it, or they really, really messed up, because Adventures with Purpose found her in 34 minutes, 55 feet offshore from where her phone last pinged. So it doesn't make any sense at all, does it? Second of all, when they did remove Kylie in her vehicle, they didn't seal up the windows. They could have wrapped the car with netting, and they didn't. They just pulled it out of the water and stuff fell on the floor. And that still would have been, they still could have fixed that though, right? If they had sent divers in for a couple of days to look on the bottom of the floor to see if anything fell out, or to even see if anything fell out when the car went in. But they didn't do that either. So, imagine the walk of shame for that police officer who had to go get that laptop from CheckItTV. Can you imagine how embarrassing that would be? CheckItTV said that he waited for somebody to come for a long time. And I'm thinking, yeah, because who wants to be the officer that has to be on camera with YouTubers to go get that? The laptop that they left behind. That laptop could have really important information on it. And we still don't know if they have Kylie's cell phone or not. They haven't told us. But I have a really interesting theory as to why, and I want to share it with you guys. So let's continue on together. Also, know that they know what the manner of death is because Kylie has been cremated. So they are just waiting for that toxicology report to make their case. But they should have it by now. So what is going on with that? And in reading some of your comments, I noticed that some of you guys think that the reason law enforcement pushed the release date of her death out to November 1st is that they're hoping that another big case comes along, new shiny object, and we will all be distracted by it and abandon the Kylie Rodni case. Then they can just sneak out the information and nobody will notice. However, I don't think that's what's going on here. If you haven't seen my video on solving the case, you will want to see this next because we collectively do a deep dive into the Kylie Rodni case and have put a lot of pieces of the puzzle together. I will link it for you in the description below. So let's talk about Sammy and this recording that was done on Ikedmel's channel prior. Okay, so we got to talk about this recording that I found on Ikedmel's channel, and it came through as a series of phone calls, and whoever was calling in had connection issues. So the video, the live stream ended up to be like hours long, but I went through and I pieced out some of the key things that I thought came out of this for you guys. So let's continue on together. This is going to be good. Prior to the interview, this was done before the interview that Sammy did with All American Dream Chaser. According to this Megan, who's one of the parents of the kids and also says that she knows Sammy very well, she says that Sammy knew Kylie was not in any condition to drive because Kylie told her this. Listen to this.
So Sam was at the party with Kylie. They were at the party. They were going back and forth to the car. They came back and they were going to go home. And Kylie said to Sam, "How much are you okay to drive?" Kylie said, "No, I'm not going to drive yet, and I want to stay longer."
So, oh my gosh. So we have her friend Megan, who's trying to help Sammy, appearing on another YouTuber channel, admitting that Kylie was not okay to drive. So this is another reason why Sammy has, in my opinion, and everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion, why Sammy has a culpability, in my opinion, in this case, right? She was told, the friend, Megan, was told by Sammy, so there's a witness that police could call to the stand that say that Sammy knew Kylie wasn't okay to drive. So why didn't Sammy take her keys, take Kylie with her? She said she had been going to Kylie's car to help. Well, Kylie charged her phone and to get more drinks, right? She admitted that. So she knew where Kylie's phone is. Why not call Kylie's mom? She seemed to know her mom, right? We saw her at the celebration of life with Lindsay hugging her. Why not use your own cell phone and call Kylie's mom? There were so many things that she could have done that would have resulted in us not even knowing Kylie's name. And those of you that are saying that CheckItTV touched the laptop without gloves on, well, yeah, they're not law enforcement. We can't hold them to the same standard as law enforcement. The chain of custody on that laptop, you guys are 100% correct. It's ruined. It is. You're right. It's ruined. But I don't blame CheckItTV. I blame law enforcement because it was their responsibility to either wrap the car to ensure nothing fell out. But even if they did that, they wouldn't have known that nothing could have fallen out when the car went into the water, right? So no matter what, they should have sent divers in to look. And that's why I think we have a hold on this case. I think law enforcement knows. They know we are all watching this. They know Adventures with Purpose has 80% of that interview with the road assistance guy, who also happens to be named Nick. I don't want to get him mixed up with Nick Wren from Adventures with Purpose. So they know that law enforcement has more information from road assistance guy. They know that Adventures with Purpose probably has more footage from the crime scene. So they have to get this right, in my opinion. That's what they're doing. They're holding everything. They're making us all wait. It's very frustrating because we have other cases where we have toxicology released already, right? But they're holding this, and that's why. But Sammy's friend throws Sammy under the bus a little bit more, and then she backs over her. So let's continue on together, reporter room investigators. Why didn't Sammy take Kylie with her? She did know that Kylie was drinking, and according to Megan, it was common for kids to sleep at Prosser Campground. But it gets even worse. Listen to this part.
So I am in bad cell service because that's what happens up here. But what it comes down to is that they were trying to figure out how they were going to get home. They were all talking to each other to try to figure out what they were going to say to their parents because they wanted to stay longer at the party. Some of them wanted to stay later. Some of them wanted to spend the night. It's known fact that in the town that if they get, all of their parents knew where they were and have said to them if they get too drunk to stay there. That's what we do in this town. It's been known for 20 years.
Oh my gosh! So all the parents know that the kids, if they drink too much, they're supposed to spend the night at the campground. They've been doing this for 20 years. This explains why the parents are so silent. This explains why the parents are telling their kids not to come forward. They knew what the kids were up to out at Lake Prosser, according to this friend of Sammy's who's trying to help Sammy out with this interview. Oh my gosh. So now we know that Sammy, helped to organize the interview, right? Although we had Jane Doe number 2 come out and say it was a boy that wasn't even at the party, and along with 2 other boys from another high school that she doesn't know. Sammy already said she was an organizer. You don't get to take that back. But now we're finding out that the reason that the parents are probably being so silent about this is because they knew what the kids are up to. And remember, there weren't just seniors at the senior farewell party. There were underage class mates. There were underage kids in the junior and the sophomore and the freshman levels that were all invited to this party. Whoa. So this explains this whole thing of there is honor in silence that Lindsay said, right? It makes sense now in light of learning what this friend does. Sometimes it does really help to go back to the beginning and re-listen to stuff again when you get more information later, because I could piece things together that didn't make sense when I initially watched this, but then when I hear Lindsay's Code of Silence, suddenly it's like the pieces of the puzzle are coming together. So if we can figure out the why, we can figure out the who, right? So let's continue on. Let's continue on, because there's more. Okay, so according to Megan, who was a parent that called into Ikedmel's channel, the parents knew that the kids were drinking at this party. And I am just in shock, because we know that this was a senior farewell party and that undergraduate kids, underage kids, were invited to be at this party. So this puts Kylie's mom's comment about there being honor in silence into a whole new context, doesn't it? So you guys have been commenting that you thought it was sketchy, and I think you may be right. The town of Truckee, which is where Kylie lived with her parents, is a very small town. It's around 17,000 people. So everybody knows everyone else. So law enforcement, judges, they're all part of this small, tight-knit community. And so you guys are the ones that brought this to my attention. So I thank you for that. And maybe this is why parents are encouraging their kids not to come forward. Is this why so many kids felt comfortable not cooperating? Because they were in contact with each other and their parents were in contact with each other in this small town. Did the parents, or at least some of the parents, know that their kids did go up to Lake Prosser to drink, and that's why they encouraged them to spend the night at the campground? So Megan also confirms okay, so this just goes a long way in trying to figure out what really went on. So you got to think about it. Lindsay Neiman, who's Kylie Rodni's mom, right? She lives in the town of Truckee, and their town has, 17,000 people in it. That's a very small town. And she runs a business. It's got like camping, hiking, fishing at her lodge, right? She runs a business in that town. So what kind of pressure is she under from the fellow parents, Kylie's friends' parents? Remember, her best friends, Kylie's friend Kate is Lindsay's best friend. So she's friends with all of these parents. So what kind of pressure is she under to promote this? There's honor in silence. But obviously, according to this friend, and I guess I'll say, allegedly, but obviously this friend who's trying to help Sammy is throwing the whole town of Truckee, all the parents of those kids, under the bus and then backing over them with their code of silence. But she says even more. So let's continue on together, shall we? That there was a mass exodus from the party, and she describes a line of cars. Listen to this.
So what I was just trying to say is that they were going back and forth on who was going to stay later. They thought that Kylie stayed the night out there, but at 8 o'clock in the morning, when people went to go leave, her car was then gone. So and the last time that Sam saw her was at 12:30 when they texted each other, and they said they were coming home. That Kylie was she was at the party still, and everybody was like kind of just whining and starting to leave. So.
Okay, so this does confirm what the two campers reported seeing around 12. Okay, so much for the whole thing of there was a guy blocking the road for people to exit. I'm not saying that couldn't have happened later, but we know from two campers who have no dog in this fight, they have no pony in this show. They have both confirmed that there was a mass exodus from the party, and we know from Sammy that the party blew up at 10:30. So who leaves a great party early? Something happened at the party. And for those of you that are saying to us, oh, don't cover the case, these kids are grieving. I'm sorry, have you seen the videos with Sammy partying? Have you seen the video of Sammy in her hot tub? Come on. She doesn't look upset at all. She's got sunglasses on. She's having a great time. And what do we see in that video? Every single kid is holding a cell phone camera with the light on. They're all videotaping it. So this whole thing of there is no videotape of the party. We're not, as Jane Doe 2 number said, and I'm not trashing the content creator that had Jane Doe number 2 on. Of course you would have her on. You want to get as much information as you can. So this is not any shade at her. She did a great job in getting the interview and bringing it forward to us. But Jane Doe's whole thing of, we're not on our cell phones very much. Oh, we're not on our cell phones. Please, girl, please. We see Sammy. She can't, she's allegedly got a criminal defense attorney, and she can't stop posting on TikTok. And does she have exposure? Yes. So now we know why the parents went in the morning. We always thought it was weird. They showed up to clean up after the party. We heard that, right? From multiple sources, that they went down to the sanctuary at the Lake Pronser campground and they cleaned up after the party. And we all thought, that's really weird. Like, Kylie went missing. Why? But they didn't turn up for that. They didn't help with that. They encouraged their kids not to turn up for that. I'm not saying all of them. Some of them did. But a lot of them told their kids not to help. So now we know why they were so interested in cleaning up after the party. According to Sammy's friend, Megan, they knew. They knew there was underage drinking at this party. The parents knew there was underage drinking at this party, with undergraduates attending the party. And that, when it results in a death or a serious accident, makes people criminally culpable. It opens you up to a criminal case. It could also open them up to a civil case. So that's why they ran in to clean up after the party, in my opinion. And everything I am sharing with you is my opinion. Some people are saying the laptop is not Kylie's at all. Again, law enforcement has not come out and denied that this was Kylie's laptop. And being that it was such a disaster in the way that the laptop was found, and we also know from people who were there that family members, the grandpa came down, family members confirmed that that was Kylie's laptop. They would have come out immediately and been like, that's not Kylie's laptop. That was somebody else's laptop who just threw it into the lake. They never said that. They never said that. And believe me, if they could have said that, they would have told us, right? They would have been like, yes, yeah, it wasn't her laptop. We didn't mess up, because they messed up. They pulled the car out of the water. They didn't put netting to wrap the car. They flipped it over instead of just floating it up upside down. They had Adventures with Purpose standing nearby who was videoing the whole thing. That's how we know how the car came up. They had Adventures with Purpose standing by that would have helped them. But they didn't want to take their help. They didn't want to take their help. Their ego came in front. So they knew they brought the car up. They knew it wasn't wrapped. They didn't send divers in either. And I know, so they have some ground to make up here, in my opinion. And the parents that knew this friend, Megan, that came on, and I will link the whole thing for you guys in the video that I'm going to put out on this tomorrow to Ikedmel's channel. But the parents who knew about this and went in to clean up the next morning, big red flag. Big red flag. Are they open to a civil suit from the Neiman family if she decided to proceed forward? Oh, yes. Are the organizers who were 18 and over, are they on the hook for a civil suit? Oh, yes. Is there criminal culpability in providing minors with alcoholic beverages that leads to serious injury or worse? Oh, yes, there is. So let's continue on, reporter room investigators, because let's continue on. And I have a Summer Wells package prepared for you guys today also. So we are going to do a deep dive into that case. Last two times I've just given like a little brief summary at the end, but this time we actually are going to do a deep dive into that also. Oh my gosh. And if you have not seen the Debbie Collier case, I did a video on that yesterday. This poor woman was seen in a dollar store buying items, buying her own murder kit. and was found deceased one day after being reported missing. And the case is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But let's get back to Kylie Rodney for a second. Let's get back to Kylie Rodney. 30 p.m. with a mass exodus of cars leaving the party. So I ask you again, who leaves a great party, a party that blew up around 10:30 p.m. at 12:30 p.m.? What was going on? So now let's look at this death certificate that's been floating around. First of all, it is real. It's not fake. And in California, anyone can request a death certificate. However, if you are not related to the victim in some way or the deceased in some way, you will get it with this stamp on it. Okay, so you can go and order a copy of Kylie's death certificate yourself. But if you're not a family member or a medical examiner, or you don't have some kind of legal standing in relation to Kylie Rodni, you're not, family, you're going to get it with this stamp, and it just says it's not a valid document. And there was a lot of confusion about this, that this was proof that it was a fake. It's not. It really is a valid it's not a valid document as far as being able to claim something in the will. Okay, it doesn't give you legal standing to have this, but you can have a copy. So there's been a lot of questions about the pregnancy and the possible pregnancy of Kylie Rodni. So let's get into that right now, guys. Let's continue on together, shall we? So was Kylie pregnant? The death certificate shows that the box is ticked as unknown. So let's look at the question. The question says, has she ever been pregnant within the last year? The medical examiner would not have this information and would not be able to say with 100% certainty that someone had not been pregnant within the last year in most cases, right? Especially if that person was only 16 years old. So the correct box to check, if you don't know, would be unknown. So I don't think there's anything particularly suspicious about that being checked in that manner. So there's no way a medical examiner could know if she had been pregnant within the last year. She was 16 years old. Unless she reported it to someone or told someone, there's no way a medical examiner would just, know. And unless she was pregnant at the time of what happened to her. And again, we don't know, she was found 14 days after she disappeared, right? We don't know where she was. Maybe she was in the water the whole time. Maybe she wasn't. You guys know, I'm not convinced that the sheriff's department just missed the car. I do believe that, where she was found with the seatbelt hanging out of the back is very, very suspicious. I showed you the video of what it would have been like with the car upside down. I turned the pictures around so you could see that while a body floats up, the seats would have kept her from floating into the back, right? The car was upside down. So she would have had to have crawled under the seats. I guess it's possible, but I don't think you can fit under the back seat of that car. So I just don't find it likely that she crawled back there, being that the car was inverted. So it's got the two little pieces, and if the car went into the water this way, then maybe she could have gotten back there. Maybe she could have climbed back there. But if the car was turning and these two pieces were down here with the car seat above it, she would have had to have held her breath, gone underwater, and crawled through the front seat and then the second seat to get back into the cargo bay. So that whole seatbelt hanging out, combined with the fact that this tow truck driver, And you guys know my opinion on this is that the tow truck driver, he was being asked how to buckle and unbuckle seatbelts. He even thought the behavior was bizarre. He thought the way the two were moving around the car was unusual. Well, in my opinion, they were trying to distract him from what was in the cargo bay. And in my opinion, they were trying to get his fingerprints onto the buckles of those seatbelts, not necessarily to implicate him, but just to muddy the waters up a little bit. You got to think that they probably did wipe the car down from their own fingerprints, but they wouldn't know like how much CSI kind of detail the law enforcement was going to go into on this vehicle, right? We've all seen the CSI episodes. So they wouldn't have known exactly what law enforcement could get and couldn't get. So to have a strange male, and I'm not saying they were going to try to get him put in jail, but they figured, with his fingerprints, it would muddy the waters up a little bit. Because, remember, they said Sammy told us, there were a lot of strange adults, older men at the party. Who told us that? Sammy told us that. Sammy told us that there were adults, strange men at this party that blew up, that everybody left at 12:30. Big red flags, guys. Big red flags. Please give this video a thumbs up on your way in. And if you're not subscribed to Reporter Room, please do, and help us grow. It's free. And it really helps me out a lot. So let's continue on, because we need to talk about the medical examiner and the coroner. And a lot of you guys have been reading. I do read all your comments. I do read them. And a lot of you guys have been talking about how the coroner is the same person as the sheriff, right? It's Sheriff Moon. And then that is the same person as the county administrator. Now, it's not the same person as the medical examiner. If you look at the death certificate, somebody else did sign it. So there are other people involved. But I initially didn't think there was a red flag, but in reading your comments, you guys thought there were. So I, looked into it a little bit more, started doing a little bit of research, and it is a red flag, because this person, it's a small town. Everybody knows each other, right? Whose kids were at that party? We don't know, because they didn't all come forward. I don't think law enforcement's going to cover up for another kid, but would they cover up for their own kid? Would you cover up for your kid? You might. So Judy Ron had a really interesting medical examiner on, and I'm not going to play a clip from his channel because I don't know how he is about sharing stuff, but I played Ikedmel because I know Ikedmel a little bit, just from how he is on YouTube, and he just seems like he's pretty cool with stuff with fair use. But Judy Ron had a medical examiner on, and I'm just going to quote to you what she said, but let's continue on together, shall we? Let's continue on. So many of you are pointing out that the sheriff in Truckee is also the coroner, and now I'm learning that the same person is also the administrator. So would this be a conflict of interest? Well, Judy Ron had a super interesting guest on who was a medical examiner, and she did a video on this, and it's from September 26 on his channel, and I will link it for you in the description below. And the medical examiner, she said that it gives the Nevada County Sheriff's Office, quote, gives me pause, end quote. So she is raising a red flag around the fact that the sheriff and the public administrator and the coroner are all the same person. And the sheriff is Shannon Moon. So according to the medical examiner who appeared on Judy Ron, she did see this as a big red flag. So I'm not clear on why law enforcement is taking until November 1st to So thank you to all you reporter room investigators out there, because you guys are the first ones that sounded the alarm on this, that you thought it was a red flag. And now we have it confirmed from a New York State medical examiner who also said that she sees this. And this is, again, an independent person who has no dog in this fight. She also sees this as a big red flag. So you guys were 100% right on that. You guys called it first, and I give you guys all the credit. And this is why social media is so important in these cases. I mean, if you think about it, Red, White, and Bethune caught Gabby Van's van on their dash cam. And without Red, White, and Bethune, we wouldn't have known where Gabby was. We might not have ever found her. And Cindy Sue Hunter, who was a Facebook acquaintance of Kylan and Crystal, Kylan's dad, Kylan Schulte's dad, Sean Paul Schulte, and Crystal Turner, she found the two women after the Grand County Sheriff's Office could not find them. She went out as a amateur social media sleuth and found the two women's campsites. She found Kylan. She called law enforcement because she didn't want to tamper with the crime scene. And then they came out and found Crystal nearby. If you think about Brian Laundrie, they mistook Roberta Laundrie for Brian Laundrie. They had eyes on the house, and they, so law enforcement's not infallible. And this whole concept of, well, we don't want social media involved because we don't like it. Well, I'm sorry, but having multiple eyes on a case helps. Having your eyes and ears on this case helps put the pieces of the puzzle together. And if we can figure out the why, then we can figure out who is responsible for what happened to Kylie, whether that be providing her with an alcoholic beverage that she wasn't supposed to have, or something else, or a fight club scenario gone wrong. I mean, what could go wrong, right? You have a bunch of teenagers together, a bunch of teens, all inebriated, out in the middle of the Lake Prosser campground in the sanctuary with boxing gloves on. That sounds like a safe scenario, right? It doesn't. I'm being so sarcastic. I'm sorry, but it doesn't sound safe. I mean, if you think about the human body can't sustain blows to the head and the chest. Like in the movies, they show all this stuff and the guy jumps back up and keeps going. It doesn't work like that in real life. Was this some kind of bizarre fight club rule? I've never heard anybody come out and say that, what the rules were. We've been asking for months. I have yet to hear anybody come out and address what were the rules on this. Were they intoxicated? And what was that cap thing done? We saw the little cap pellets, right? What was that about? Was that related to that, or was that out there from another time? Were they using that to start and stop? Did somebody get injured with that? I mean, so, we have that being now fired. So yeah, what could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? And yeah, Sheila Isaacs is saying, first rule of Fight Club, do not talk about Fight Club. Yes, I agree. So for those of you who raised the red flags about the coroner being the same person as the sheriff, being the same person as the county administrator, you were right. You were 100% right. And I give you so much credit for that. So kudos to you guys. Well done. So let's continue on. Release this information, but I do believe that they have something to prove now. They know we're all watching this case. They know they missed Kylie's vehicle, if it was there. And they know that they left her laptop on the floor of Lake Prosser. And I think they really want to get this case right. So I do think that law enforcement has a big motivation to get this case right now. They really have messed up a number of things. So is this why we have this delay until November 1st? Or are you guys right about this too? Because a lot of you guys have been saying that you feel like they're putting the delay in to just, hoping that we go off on another case and get distracted by another shiny object, and we forget all about Kylie Rodni. Are you guys right on that also? Well, let's see. Let's see what they come out with. If they're I don't think that they could possibly think they're just going to sweep this under the rug and we're just all going to go away on this. But, maybe they do. Maybe they think, well, we'll just come out. We'll wait till November. They'll tire themselves out. They won't be interested anymore. They'll be watching on another case, and then we'll come out with the information quietly. Maybe they're going to wait till something else big happens. The best time to release it, would have probably been during this, what just happened in Florida. And for those of you who are in Florida, I just want to say I have been praying for you. I'm so sorry for what happened. And I'm so sorry. And I hope everybody is safe and well. So yeah, you guys were right. You guys were right on that. And I just think it's so interesting. Sonia Singer says, yeah, law enforcement messed up so very bad. And she's asking for justice for Kylie. Joy Catcher says, just a screenshot from video. And Enid Melendez says, they're waiting for us to give the narrative in the case. And Marie Morris says, real people who care not only subscribe to true crime, but actually are doing research. Many are ex-law enforcement. Yes, thank you, Marie, because I inevitably, with every video that we put out or any time that we have a conversation like this, there's always somebody that comes forward in the comment section, either here or on Twitter. And I have a Facebook group too, or in there, no, not so much, but Twitter or on or here to just be like, oh, you're cashing. No, you're cashing in on the Kylie Rodni case. I am not cashing in on the Kylie Rodni case. There's no Cash App running. These videos are free to watch. It's up to you if you want to watch them or not. But I'm reporting on the news and on the information that I have. And I'm being very upfront. People also ask me, why do you say it's your opinion? Because that's what journalists do. In a newspaper, you'll see what's called an op-ed or an opinion piece. And when you're sharing your opinion, you want to always clarify that to your viewers. This is my opinion. And opinions are not facts. You want to make sure that they know what is an opinion and what isn't, so that you guys can make your own mind up. I know I have smart viewers. I know, because I read your comments in the comment section. So I do think it's really important that we cover this case. I do think this whole thing of leave the kids alone, they're trying to heal. I'm not saying that not all the kids are hurting. I'm sure there are some, but have you seen the video of Sammy out there in the hot tub? Have you seen the video of Sammy in the dorm room with sunglasses on partying? If you haven't, I have it in one of my other videos. I mean, she does not need time to heal. In my opinion, she is just fine. Torrent is saying there is no buckle hanging out, stopping retraction. There is something hanging out the back of the car. There is. And so I have not heard law enforcement come forward to tell us what that is yet. And so until they come forward and tell us differently, I believe, in my opinion, that it is a seat buckle. I do believe it is a belt. And so I'm going to just share what my opinion is. And you guys are welcome to have differing ones. I respect your opinion so much. But I do believe that it's very sketchy that she's found in the back of the vehicle. And how long was that seatbelt hanging out the back? How long? Was she driving around like that? Clank, 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 clank. Wouldn't you hear that? I mean, where she lived, the weather was nice. She probably rode around with her windows down. So wouldn't you hear that noise clanking on your car? And the other thing that I think is really bizarre is think about your friend. Think about like a newer friend. Can you tell me what the bumper stickers are on the back of that car? Because Sammy knew it was a bull. Now, maybe she was told that. Maybe she was told that. But I can't tell you what the bumper stickers are on my best friend's, the back of her car. I couldn't tell you if you said, I'll give you $1 million. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't know. I don't know. So I thought that was really unusual too. I thought that was very, very strange. So I think it would have made a noise flapping around back there. So I have a hard time believing that she was driving around that way, but maybe she was. Maybe she was. And maybe I am wrong on that. And so, I am just here sharing what I think happened. But I do think that this whole thing, and I have a package prepared for the Summer Wells case, and I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. But I do think that this whole thing with the parents and Lindsay Neiman's code, there's honor in silence, makes sense now in light of the audio tape that I shared with you today. It makes sense in light of what Megan said. The parents told the kids to sleep at the campground. I couldn't figure out where that came from because I'm like, who would sleep at a campground alone in the back of their car with a bunch of strange men? Because remember, Sammy told us there were strange men. And so let's go back to tow truck driver on that comment. I'm not saying there weren't some strange men at the party. Maybe there were. But did she say that because of tow truck driver? Because in my opinion, the whole reason of having him out there, and have you ever called road assistance in your life and not had them identify who you are? They want to know, even if you're with somebody else's vehicle, they want to know who you are. So you have to show usually a card or give them a card number over the phone. Sometimes you have to show a driver's license when they show up if it's not your vehicle. So I do think that, there has to be something on that dash cam footage that will tell us who was out there. And I do think it's very interesting that men were placed at the party. And, the goal of that morning seems to be, because I don't know, I can't come up with any other scenario of why you would be asking someone as a grown adult how to buckle and unbuckle a safety belt. Make that make sense. What do you guys think? If you think that that whole thing is sketchy, put up a 1. If you think that it's just a red herring and not related to the case, put up a 2. I really want to see where you guys are at on that. So let's talk a little bit about we've talked a little bit about the Kylie Rodni case, and I'm going to go back to that in a second, but I want to share some Summer Wells information with you also. So let me bring that up.
The dispatch operator originally reported that Summer Wells' mother was out for a walk on June 15th, the day Summer disappeared. This is significant. Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies starts now.
So let me fast forward this a little bit. Okay, so we're going to get to the part with Summer. Yeah, so I went back and I was like going back through the Summer Wells stuff, and I'm like thinking about these footprints, right? That Kraken Cases was talking about. They had said that they had a dog alert and it wasn't a regular scent dog. So I was thinking, it has to probably be a cadaver dog that scented, that alerted on a neighbor's property. And I'm not going to say who or what the neighbor is, because I don't think she had anything to do with it. But this whole thing of Summer being carried and then put down, and the fact that there were footprints, okay, maybe they're not from that day, but maybe they are. But who was out for a walk? Because my mind, again, is going to, why do we have these footprints? Why do we have a cadaver dog alerting? Who would know that those buildings, those 2 outbuildings that the dog alerted by, were vacant? Right? Who would know that? So who was carrying Summer? And then we go back to Candus denying. Why would you deny that you went for a walk? It could be that she just really didn't go for a walk. It's a very interesting thing to say, though. And we do think it was Don Wells that called the dispatch. And I wish that Sheriff Ronnie Lawson would release the 911 tapes to us. I sincerely do, because I would love to hear Don Wells' 911 tape. I would love to hear Candace Bly's 911 tape on this, but we don't have that. But we do know from the dispatch that the mother, that's Candace Bly, was out for a walk. So if you were out for a walk, why? Maybe she was, wouldn't you say she's been out searching? You wouldn't say out for a walk. It's just such an odd thing to say. So I, thought about that. And then I thought about these footprints and I'm thinking, who would need to put her down? Would a grown man need to put down a little 40-pound preschooler? Probably not. It would have to be someone younger or smaller, or maybe a woman. And I went back to that walk and I just thought, who was out for a walk? And again, everything I'm sharing with you on this case is my opinion, and opinion is not facts. Don Wells is Summer Wells' dad, and Candace Bly is Summer Wells' mom. And Summer has been missing since June 15th, 2021. And I have a whole playlist if you want to check out that case. But let's continue on. Let's continue on together. As Grandis was in the car adding minutes to her cell phone, Candace claims she and Grandis were picking flowers. We know from H's account that there was some kind of incident at Warriors Path State Park. He stated that he thought Summer was submerged under the water for several seconds, but he wasn't sure exactly how long. So I think it's really significant that we have this report of Summer being submerged, right? I mean, I do think that does play a role into it. I don't think it's just a red herring. I've always said I thought that some kind of accident happened to this little girl, that something went horribly wrong on June 15th. I think it's very strange that Candace, who was a mother of 4 children, she had 3 boys. She left her own 3 boys at home to go pick up the son of a woman that was not on speaking terms with her, who was Allie. She picked up Allie's son. I'm just going to call him H because he's a minor. So she picks up H, and she takes him says they're going to go fishing or to a water park. Now, don't you think her 3 boys would want to go fishing or to a water park? What boys wouldn't want to go to a water park? I mean, come on. So why did she really leave her own boys at home, take Summer, and pick up H? Was H going to be the patsy? Was he going to be the fall guy for Dawn and Candace? Or was he there for some other nefarious reason? But I think that this all comes together. So let's continue on. Hawkins County Sheriff's Office has been investigating the disappearance of Summer Wells. Summer Wells went missing from inside her home, this is according to her parents, Dawn Wells and Candace Bly, on June 15th of 2021. Here we are now, 15 months later, and the TBI is still saying that this case is not considered cold, and an Amber Alert issued for Summer remains active. So was Summer Wells really abducted from inside of her home, or did something else happen? So let's talk about that. We were originally told that she had wandered away, right? That was the initial report that the TBI came out, the press came out with that. And then we were told, and remember, Candace refused to go on camera for nearly 2 weeks to advocate for her own missing daughter. And this is another reason why I just feel like she went for a walk. She wouldn't go on camera to advocate for her daughter. Why? Why wouldn't you go on camera and beg for the return of your daughter if you believed she was abducted? And we were all just aghast, because how does a preschooler get abducted from inside her own home, right? We were just all aghast at this case because we could not believe that a preschooler could be abducted from inside her own home. And I'm not saying that that didn't happen, but the abduction story didn't come out till later. First, it was mom went for a walk. Then it was the child wandered off. And then it was she was abducted. So the narrative kept changing. And I do think it all goes back to this, what happened that day, June 15th, at that watering hole. Remember, Candus is smart. Candus is smart. Candus was saying that Candus was at the watering hole, right? She had taken her to the hospital to get her knee checked out, and then she picked her back up, and they decided to go for a swim while they waited for Candus to get her prescriptions refilled. But when Candus got interviewed, she didn't sound like she was at the watering hole. And she messed up the timeline for Dawn and Candus, because she's not going to incriminate herself. She's not going to go to jail. She's not doing that. She said, even when she talked about unloading the groceries, she said, and they were bringing the groceries in, and she talks about Candus and the boys, and then there's this pause. And Summer. She almost forgot to include Summer. And if you look back at the interviews of Dawn, Candus, and Candus, no one ever tells us anything that Summer Wells said. We never hear, Summer asked me for a piece of candy. We hear I gave Summer her favorite kind of candy. But I never hear anything that Summer actually verbally said that whole afternoon. And that's why I think this does go back to something at the swimming hole. And by the way, for those of you who are asking, the comments were turned off on my last Summer Wells video. I don't know why, but I don't turn off my comments. I read my comments because I learn from you guys. You guys tell me important things in the comments, so I want to know what you guys have to say. Your comments are extremely important. So let's continue on. And I do have some more stuff on Kylie Rodni. I'm going to get back to that in a second, but I want to go through this case because I feel like I didn't go through this on the last two live streams like I wanted to. And you guys, I promised, and I want to be a woman of my word. Let's talk about the scenario of a scapegoat in the family and decide if this may have applied to Summer. A scapegoat is a person that the family blames or places all of the blame on. And when scapegoating children, the child is blamed and or shamed for all of the issues that arise within that dysfunctional family dynamic. And here's how scapegoating works. The parent with narcissistic personality disorder will blame their child or children for family issues. And then the family will learn from this parent that these actions are all to blame, and this will be placed onto the scapegoat. This way, the parent is able to create a triangulation dynamic, separating the scapegoated child from her siblings or his siblings to maintain an equal balance in the home life, a balance that serves the person with narcissistic personality disorder. So let's talk about triangulation for a second. So triangulation, what that is that's, you've got the parent, and what they do is they'll divide the child that's the scapegoated child, right, from the other children. And if you look at photos of Summer that were taken the year before, she looks healthy. Her hair looks healthy. Her skin looks healthy. Her body looks healthy. Her teeth look healthy. When you look at the last few months before Summer disappeared, we see a child who was gaunt, a child who desperately needed dental attention. Her mouth looks inflamed. It looks sore. In my opinion, it looks painful. And we see a child whose head was shaved, and we've, been told, she wanted to have her head shaved like the boys, or, we had lice. Okay, maybe, but couldn't you just get some lice shampoo for a little girl? And why would you, couldn't you take a comb and comb out the nits? Why would you shave her head all the way back to the skull? So maybe one thing, the head is shaved by itself. Okay. But then you combine that with her teeth and the fact that she wasn't receiving dental care. And then you combine that with the fact that she looks really gaunt and thin. And you can see how this scapegoat golden child, and we have one of the three boys that looks very well nourished, very well fed. You can see how this dynamic is playing out. And I don't want to, if you've had this dynamic in your household and maybe you were the scapegoat and maybe you were the golden child, no matter what, you don't come out unscathed from this, because the golden child's being manipulated also. The golden child is being manipulated also. So it's not just, I've seen a lot of people grow up and have drama with the child that was the golden child, because they felt like, it was so unfair. But just remember, they're just kids too, and they're being manipulated also. So it's all a manipulation to serve the parent who is a narcissist. Now, do I think that Don and Candus have narcissistic tendencies? I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not going to diagnose them. So I'm just going to share with you my opinion. But let's continue on, because if we can figure out the why, we can figure out the who, because someone looks like they were carrying Summer. Someone had to put her down. It looks like a couple of times. And cadaver irons, those get stronger the more time has passed. So was someone looking around for a place to put Summer? Let's continue on. So scapegoating is a group dynamic where one person is singled out by the group and becomes the target of their blame, their abuse, and other negative treatments. And unfortunately, this can be taken to an extreme by narcissistic parents. So did this happen to Summer Wells? Did Dawn Wells and Candace Bly put their own needs ahead of their children? I think in looking at the way that they dealt with the three boys after they were taken by Child Protective Services, we can answer yes. Neither parent went in to receive any kind of treatment to work to get the boys back. And allegedly, Candace didn't even bother to show up at her own boys' court date. So, in fact, the need of a narcissistic parent to be in control and at the center of attention is sometimes the reason they choose to have children in the first place. And we see both Dawn and Candace's need to be the center of attention. They both appeared on YouTube multiple times. Candace even started her own YouTube channel. Dawn also started his own YouTube channel. So it seems like they used their daughter's disappearance as a platform to make themselves infamous. And they really did. They used their daughter's disappearance to launch their own YouTube channels, right? Not Candace refused to go on camera to advocate for her daughter. The last time they asked her to go on camera, she handed the reporter this little scribbly scratch note. That was it. She refused to show up for her boys at their court date. She didn't go. I don't have to go. Like it didn't have anything to do with her. So she didn't go. She didn't go. She didn't show up for them. She didn't advocate for her. And then she's made very, very concerning remarks like, I want to focus on the boys because they are living. What? And even in the interview that we go back and watch those interviews that were done about 2 weeks after Summer disappeared, they're already talking about Summer in the past tense. You hear Dawn, oh, I'm sorry. I know I'm not supposed to talk about her in the past tense. Well, it's not. He's not supposed to talk about her in the past tense because it's going to offend us. He's not supposed to talk about her in the past tense because he's not supposed to be assuming that she's not with us anymore. But that's exactly what it sounded like. That's exactly what it sounded like. Why were they talking about her in the past tense? What did they know? What did they know? And who went for a walk? And who maybe had to put her down multiple times that day? Let's continue on. So, can more than one child be scapegoated in a dysfunctional home? Usually, we have a couple of different roles within the family dynamic. We have the golden child role, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's the favored child of a narcissistic parent. And maybe you've experienced this in your own household. And this isn't your ordinary garden variety favoritism, as it often is in the case of narcissists. This will be taken to an extreme level. A lot of the time, the golden child can't do anything wrong. In fact, they will be celebrated by everyone in the family. And the narcissist will pile on praises even for minor successes. And it's easy to see how a scapegoated child is harmed in this very common dynamic. To varying degrees, either overtly. So you may have experienced this in your own life. You may have had this experience in your own life where and it gets passed down from generation to generation. So the parent that's doing this, they're just repeating a pattern that they lived. So did this pattern play out in Candus's relationship with her mother, Grandis? We know that Candus's sister just disappeared. We know she didn't just evaporate. And what are the odds of two girls, an adult woman and a child, going missing within a 14-year span, two immediate family members? And what do those two have in common? Candus, Grandis. What are the odds? So did Candus live this same dynamic in her own household, and now she was repeating it? Because Summer does not look well. Look at this picture here of her. Healthy hair, healthy body weight. She looks great. And then the pictures that we see of her toward the end, thin, gaunt, head shaved. What was going on in the Wells household? Let's continue on together. Or even covertly, the scapegoat is systematically belittled and shamed, carrying the responsibility for the narcissist's self-hatred, frustrating job, or lack of caring for the family. But just like the scapegoat, the golden child is just another pawn in a narcissist family dynamic. So this child doesn't come out of the situation unscathed either. All of the children are affected by this dynamic. So was this occurring in the Summer Wells case? Well, we can look at the kids and we can see of the three boys, we have one boy that was healthier looking than the other two boys. And if you look at pictures of Summer over that last year, particularly the photos that were taken in the last few months before she disappeared, she does appear gaunt. And look at this picture. Look how much thinner she is than the earlier picture that I showed you. Something went horribly wrong in that household. And was there some kind of a family dynamic in play there where we have the golden child and then the child that was scapegoated? What was really going on at the watering hole? The other thing that we know is that we know that CPS had a case that was open, and we know that in Tennessee, there was only one child in the Wells household who could have resulted in serious jail time, because if the child is under the age of 9 and suffers any kind of, and I can't say the word, I'm watching my words here, suffers anything like that, That is a felony. And both of them have criminal records. Don is in jail right now. He's been convicted of multiple felonies in multiple states. And believe me, when you get caught to go in jail, you don't get caught for the very first thing you do. I mean, what are the odds? Usually it's something you've done over and over. And he's done really awful things, including breaking into people's houses. So this is like not a guy who, in my opinion, has a lot of integrity. Can you imagine how scary it would be to have him break into your house? What an invasion that would feel like. And that was her dad. And then her mom also has a criminal record and couldn't be bothered to show up for the boys for their court date. Can you imagine how you would feel? How those boys felt when she didn't turn up? How do you not show up for your own kids? How do you not show up to go on camera and advocate for your daughter, who you're now claiming was abducted? Do I think it's likely that a stranger snuck up onto the property and took her from inside the house? No. Is it possible she wandered away because she wasn't being watched? Yes, I think that's possible. Is it possible that something went wrong at the swimming hole and something happened after they got home? I think that's possible. Who had to put Summer down to where she left footprints around the area? The dogs alerted on the footprints. And then we have one dog that wasn't a normal scent dog that alerted on a neighbor's property. And we know that as time passes, cadaver irons begin to be released. Is that what happened here? And again, I am just sharing with you my opinion. So let's continue on together. Then, and also consider the fact that she was taken to a swimming hole without her car seat. She wasn't buckled in. And was she being watched at this swimming hole? Or did Candus leave her 3 boys at home and pick up the teenage child of her frenemy, Allie, for nefarious purposes? So this would have left little preschooler Summer, who did not know how to swim and did not have a flotation device, to fend for herself in a dark, dank watering hole at the Warriors Path State Park. Sadly, I think that maybe the worst did happen, and we may have a case of secondary drowning. If you listen to the 911 dispatch, she reports to law enforcement that the mother was out for a walk. And we've also learned from cracking cases that footprints were found in surrounding properties, and most notably, a dog alerted, and it wasn't a scent dog. So I'm left to think that maybe, and Michelle After Dark has also speculated on this, that maybe this was a cadaver dog. So was someone carrying Summer to a property that had 2 outbuildings that were So after I heard this from cracking cases, yes, I guess it could have been a stranger that snuck up onto the property and knew, and somehow the stars aligned and she wandered out of her back door and they got her. That's possible. It's possible. Is it probable? What are the statistics on that? Not that great. That property was pretty remote. It was pretty remote, in a remote area. So do I think that that's the most likely scenario? No. Do I say it's possible? But so who would have been carrying Summer? Who needed to put her down? Who needed to put her down? A couple of times. A couple of times. Did something go wrong at the swimming hole? I don't think that H was making that up, that she was underwater. And in a case of secondary drowning, it doesn't happen right away. It doesn't happen right away. I've heard about the dry drowning, but that happens within an hour. Secondary drowning normally happens at least after 2 hours, 24 hours, That's the normal window. And the cases of having a secondary drowning incident when a child has been underwater from an unknown period of time, you always want to get them checked out at an emergency room. You always want to get them checked out. And this is why I think that final photo, that last photo that we have of Summer, I believe that was taken to send to Dawn. I believe that they took it because something wasn't right in the car. They had stopped and run some errands on the way home. They went to the local Priceless, which was a grocery store. They made a couple of other stops, and they were probably in the car for an hour. They dropped off H, and then they continued on home. And maybe we're getting to that 2-hour mark. So did something happen? And think about how this child was. She's riding, even in the final photo, you can see the lap belts behind her. Why? Because that child belonged in a booster seat. She was a preschooler. She belonged in a booster seat. So we have a child who wasn't in a booster seat, but should have been. We have a child that we know was taken to Sonic, but not provided lunch, not given lunch, no lunch. She got a piece of candy from grandma, but no lunch was provided to a preschooler. We know she was taken to a dark, dank watering hole when there was a swimming pool at the Warriors Path State Park. There were also swimming areas that were safer to swim in. We know that she could not swim. And we know that she didn't have any kind of life vest, or in my family, we call it a fun vest, or flotation device on to protect her swimming. And we know that H was picked up, not the 3 boys, not her 3 brothers. So, and we know that a Twisted Tea was purchased and that he was given it. Was Summer even being watched at the Warriors Path swimming hole? I'm not convinced that she was being properly supervised. And Grandis has taken herself out of the equation at the Warriors Path State Park. She couldn't even name Warriors Path State Park. If that was the last place that your granddaughter was seen, wouldn't you be able to remember the name of it? You could say Warriors Path. You could say, the stable watering hole, because that's what it was. It was a watering hole for horses. It wasn't a proper swimming area. But let's continue on together, guys. Let's continue on. Vacant. And who would have known that these buildings were vacant? When you consider this, along with the fact that Candus has been reported as being out for a walk, along with the fact that Candus refused to go on camera to even ask for her daughter's return until nearly 2 weeks after Summer had first disappeared. If you consider this fact, along with everything else that Candus has said and done, including speaking about... So, sorry if there was an echo on that part. I forgot to turn my mic off. So let's look at those fingernail beds. I've heard some people think that it was dirt, but if it was dirt, it would be on the top of your fingernails. It would be up here. What's going on down here? What's going on down here? Was there already a lack of oxygen taking place? Because what dry drowning does is it inflames the lungs from the inside out. So you drown from the inside out. So was she lethargic? Was she lethargic? And why are her nail beds turning a dark, dark blue? What do you guys think? But let's continue on. Summer Wells in the past tense and saying that she needed to focus on her boys because her boys are living. We have to consider the fact that maybe that is why Candus was out. So I just have to stop for a second because you can see the before and the after photo. Before, we have a child who's at a healthy little body weight. She's a healthy little toddler. She's got her little belly. Her hair looks nice and thick. And then we end up here. How did we get here? With a gaunt, thin child who needed dental care and had her head shaved. And again, that goes back to that golden child and the scapegoat dynamic? Was the head shaving some kind of form of shaming her? Was she being shamed? Was it a punishment? Because we've heard different stories. Candus said that Summer wanted to have, Dawn has said that Summer wanted to have her head shaved to look like the boys. I don't know any little girl who likes to do princess. And remember, Candus says she loved princesses, that wants to be shaved bald. I don't know any little girls who want to be shaved bald. So maybe she wanted to have like the back of her hair shaved because it was stylish, but I don't think she would have been begging to have her entire head shaved off. And maybe if that was just by itself, you know, we wouldn't have these alarm bells going off. We wouldn't have these red flags. But you combine that with how you see how she looked before, months before. You combine that with the fact that that she doesn't seem to be nourished properly, that she wasn't in a car seat, that she wasn't provided lunch. Was that the first time that Summer didn't get lunch that day? Was that the first time she didn't get lunch? What do you guys think? But let's continue on. Out for a walk. What do you think? Subscribe and leave me a comment.
The dispatch.
So what do you think? We have a child that disappeared. Just disappeared off the face of the earth. And if you're not familiar with this case, I have a playlist. You're welcome to watch the playlist to catch yourself up. We have a child who just disappeared off the face of the earth. At first, we're told that the mother went for a walk. And then we're told by Candus, I never go for a walk. Why deny that you walk? Why deny that you take a walk? I don't understand that. Make that make sense. But in my opinion, she had a reason to say she didn't go for a walk that day. In my opinion, it's only my opinion. But I think she had a reason to tell us that she didn't have a walk that day. So let's go back to the Kylie Rodni case for a second. Because I promised you that we would. So I do think that it's very telling that we have this friend of Sammy's who came forward to another content creator's channel to tell us that the kids were told to sleep at the campground if they were drinking. And then we have the parents. We just could not understand how these parents could not come forward to help search for Kylie, why they would have to only come forward under the promise of anonymity to help Kylie. Well, now I think we understand a little bit better thanks to Megan. So Megan, I thank you for that. And we know now that there is probably a reason that they all went to go clean up that morning, because that never made sense to us, that they would all go to help clean up, right? They will help clean up, but they would not help. They would not help look for Kylie. They were all talking to each other. It's a small town of 16 to 17,000 people. So they all know each other. It's all intertwined. And this is why Lindsay said there's honor in silence. Is she feeling peer pressure? Did she know also? Please let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section. If you would be so kind as to give this video a thumbs up on your way out and subscribe. I do want to just tell you, I really am appreciative of all of you, my fellow reporter room investigators. Please keep leaving me your comments in the comment section below. I do like to read them. I answer as many of them as is humanly possible. I do try to answer them or at least acknowledge them. If I haven't gotten to yours yet, I will. But I do read them. I do take them in, and then I do follow up with what you guys have to say, because what you have to say is extremely important. So thank you so much. I want to thank our executive producers, our producers, our channel members, I want to thank all of you who've taken the time to subscribe to Reporter Room, who take your time to come here and share these live streams with me, who take your time to come to the premieres. I have a new video on Kylie Rodni premiering tomorrow, and I have another one coming out on Tuesday about the Debbie Collier case. And if you don't know about that case, it's absolutely crazy. I posted one yesterday. You're welcome to take a look at it. There's something very wrong in that case also. Big red flags. This woman did not just disappear. It's crazy what happened to her. It's absolutely crazy. And I posted some of the 911 calls. I'm going to post the remaining 911 calls by Tuesday for you guys, so you can just listen and assess for yourselves. I'm very interested to hear what your opinion is on that case as well. So thank you so much for taking your time to support Reporter Room. I am very grateful for each and every one of you. And on that note, I will see you next time. Bye.